Thanks. And new at 4:30, back in August, a carload of people crashed off of Wolcott Road in Wolcott. A Ford Focus carrying 2 women and 8 kids who were unrestrained in the back. The 2 women, accustomed to putting those kids in danger, they said that they faced a judge this morning. And Channel 3 Waterbury Bureau Chief Audrey Russo is live now with the details. Audrey?
Well, Kara, this is a crash that seriously injured a 10-year-old who was ejected from the vehicle and found pinned underneath it. But what also caught officers' attention was the fact that 4 out of the 8 kids riding in this car, meant for 5 people, were unrestrained and in the hatch. Now, take a look at this video. This is from court earlier this morning. This is Jamie Medore, who police believe was driving the car. She's facing 18 charges in total, including risk of injury to a minor and reckless endangerment. The other woman, Elizabeth Farina, was the passenger. She was in court earlier this morning for off-docket proceedings. Her case was continued to January 18th, and she is facing 5 counts of risk of injury. Now, as for Medore, her case was continued to January 8th. The state asked for both cases to be screened for Part A, which means that is where the more serious cases are handled. Wolcott police say the lengthy investigation into the crash wrapped up a few weeks ago, and the warrants for both women, who were the mothers to all of the kids in the car, were secured earlier this month.
Were they remorseful? Yes, both of them were very remorseful of what had happened. Again, once we called them and told them we had the warrants completed, they knew the warrants were coming down for them. They did both turn themselves in.
Now, police tell us that 2 of the children in the car at the time of the crash belonged to Medore, and the other 6 were Farina's children. But what led up to this crash? Well, we got the arrest warrants for both women, combing through it, seeing what circumstances led up to the crash that, again, injured a 10-year-old very, very severely. We'll have more on that coming up in a story at 6, but for now I'm live in Wolcott. Audrey Russo for Channel 3 Eyewitness News.